Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to Billy Love Gaming Reviews, where we don't just talk gaming, we cover all the awesome stories worth diving into, whether they're on a screen or in the pages of a book. And today's review, oh man, we're getting into some seriously gripping stuff. I just finished reading Hard to Kill, a Jane Smith thriller by James Patterson and Brian Sitz, and y'all, this one was intense. Think courtroom drama meets personal tragedy meets murder mystery, all wrapped up in Patterson's signature rapid-fire style. If you're curious whether this thriller's worth your time, stick around, because we're about to break it all down. So let's start with the basics. What's this book actually about? Jane Smith is a high-powered defense attorney. She's respected, feared, and laser-focused when it comes to her clients. She's also secretly dying. Yeah, she's been diagnosed with a terminal illness, but instead of stepping back or slowing down, Jane leans all the way in. She wants to leave her mark. She wants to go out swinging. Meanwhile, there's a killer on the loose. Someone is targeting Jane's clients, high-profile ones, and eliminating them one by one. And Jane, she might be next. So not only is she trying to manage her illness and career, but she's also being dragged into this deeper web of danger, corruption, and secrets. All while keeping a brave face for everyone around her. This book wastes no time getting going. The first few chapters hit you hard and fast, and you're instantly thrown into Jane's world, where every decision feels like it could be her last. Let's talk about Jane for a second, because she is hands down the star of this show. Jane Smith is tough. She's witty, no nonsense, and strategic as hell. But she's also very human. Her illness doesn't make her weak, it adds weight to everything she does. It gives her urgency. Every conversation, every trial, every moment has an edge to it, because you know she's not just battling in the courtroom, she's battling inside her own body. What I appreciated most was how the authors didn't make her into a superhero or a victim. She's flawed. She's stubborn. Sometimes she pushes people away or hides her feelings, and that made her feel real. You're rooting for her because she's not just surviving, she's still fighting to do good, even when everything is against her. Now, if you've read James Patterson before, you know his trademark style: short, punchy chapters, fast pacing, minimal fluff. And that definitely holds true here. You can breeze through a dozen chapters in one sitting and still feel like you're barely catching your breath. Some people don't love that style, they want more depth, more description, but personally, I think it works perfectly in this book. Jane's life is chaotic and time-sensitive, so the pacing reflects that urgency. The legal scenes feel sharp. The action scenes feel gritty. And even the quieter, emotional moments are delivered in these tight, compact ways that still hit hard. What really surprised me about this book was the emotional depth. You go in expecting a legal thriller, and yeah, it's that. But it's also a story about legacy. About what we leave behind. About how we want to be remembered. Jane isn't just solving crimes and defending clients. She's reckoning with her life, her regrets, her wins, the relationships she never got to build. And those moments, they give this thriller a kind of emotional weight that you don't always get in this genre. There's also a real tension between strength and vulnerability. Jane is undeniably strong, but the story lets her feel. It lets her grieve. It lets her be afraid. And that balance made the book hit different for me. Okay, here's where I'll be a little more critical. While Jane is a fantastic, fully realized character, some of the supporting cast felt kind of underwritten. A few names pop up again and again, like her co-workers, clients, and love interests, but they didn't all leave a strong impression. I kind of wish we had more development there, especially because some of them do play key roles in the plot. The world building, though, solid. The legal scenes felt believable without being bogged down in technical jargon. The city, the law offices, even Jane's home life, everything felt grounded and authentic. As far as the mystery itself, the who's killing Jane's clients plot, it's well constructed. There are enough red herrings and twists to keep you guessing, though I will admit I predicted one of the key reveals about halfway through. That said, the book still kept me invested because the stakes weren't just about who the killer was, it was about whether Jane would survive long enough to figure it out. Without giving anything away, there's a courtroom scene about 3/4 into the book that had me on the edge of my seat. Jane just owns the room. It's like a mic drop moment, and even though she's sick and struggling, she taps into this deep well of power and just commands the scene. Also, there's a quiet, personal moment where Jane reflects on her past, on a relationship that never quite happened, and it was just beautifully written. That chapter made me pause and really feel for her. So here's my final verdict. Hard to Kill is fast, emotional, and full of heart. Jane Smith is a character I won't be forgetting anytime soon. She's layered, compelling, and a total badass. The pacing was sharp, the themes were surprisingly deep, and while I do wish the side characters were a little stronger, the core of the story more than made up for it. If you're into legal thrillers, emotional storytelling, or just want to read something that grabs you and doesn't let go, Hard to Kill should definitely be on your list. I'm giving this one a solid 8.5 out of 10, with a high recommendation for thriller fans who love strong leads and thoughtful drama. Warning: spoilers ahead. If you haven't read Hard to Kill, turn back now, unless you're like me and love knowing what's coming. Let's go. 1. Jane's terminal illness. The clock is ticking. Jane Smith isn't just dealing with a vague illness, she's battling a high-grade brain tumor. It's terminal. No miracle cures. No long-shot surgeries. Just time, and not much of it. This is revealed pretty early in the book, and it sets the emotional and narrative stakes. What makes this plot point powerful is how she refuses to let it slow her down. But we see how it affects her in private: nausea, fatigue, brain fog, yet she keeps pushing. Eventually, Jane's condition worsens, and there are moments where it threatens to completely derail her cases. In one chapter, she collapses in court. It's not played dramatically, but you feel that creeping dread. It's like her body is betraying her in real time. 2. The murders. Who's targeting her clients? Here's where the plot thickens. Jane's clients start getting murdered, not just random killings, but execution-style hits. These aren't bad guys, in the traditional sense, either. They're complex, powerful people Jane defends, but each has dirt on someone. The main twist: the killer isn't just targeting Jane's clients, it's someone inside the system, someone with access to privileged information. You start to suspect the DA's office, her rivals, even one of her own colleagues. Turns out, the killer is Paul Hennessy, a disgraced ex-cop with a vendetta. But here's the kicker: he's working for someone bigger, a judge, of all people, who's using Hennessy to clean up the legal system and get rid of people he sees as undeserving of justice. The judge's justification is twisted. He believes Jane is enabling evil by defending these people, and he wants to correct the system. This ends up being a key ideological battle between Jane and the judge: law versus vigilante justice. 3. Jane's love life, that quiet heartbreak. There's a subtle subplot involving her ex, David, who's now remarried. They had a falling out years ago, but it's clear Jane still holds a torch. She never says it outright, but when she sees him again, there's a heaviness. He still cares for her, and in one emotional scene, she almost tells him about her illness but stops herself. That restraint, brutal. Later, when David finds out, he tries to reconnect and support her, but Jane's pride won't let him. It's a major, what could have been, moment and adds another layer of tragedy to her story. 4. That killer courtroom scene. Near the end, Jane defends a man accused of killing his wife, a case that should be unwinnable. She's sick, losing strength, and it's clear to everyone in the courtroom. But she pulls it together and completely dismantles the prosecution's argument, exposing evidence tampering and bias from the lead detective. The judge rules in her favor, and it's this mic drop moment that reminds you why Jane is elite even when her body is falling apart. 5. The final confrontation. Jane faces death head on. The climax brings Jane face to face with Hennessy, and it's intense. She figures out where he's hiding and confronts him, even though she's alone and vulnerable. In a scene full of tension, she talks him down not by force, but through pure intellect and emotional manipulation. He confesses, giving her the last piece of evidence needed to expose the judge. But the emotional gut punch. Jane collapses again after the confrontation, and this time, it's bad. She's hospitalized, and while the epilogue doesn't say it outright, it heavily implies that Jane doesn't have much time left. 6. The ending. Legacy over victory. The book ends with Jane writing letters to David, to her sister, even to herself. They're not dramatic, but reflective. Honest. She knows she's dying, and she's trying to tie up loose ends. Her final note: that she hopes people remember her not for the cases she won, but for how hard she fought to do the right thing, even when everything was stacked against her. Overall twist rating and final thoughts. Biggest twist: the judge orchestrating the murders. Most emotional moment: Jane's private letters in the final chapters. Best scene: the courtroom showdown where Jane outsmarts everyone despite her illness. Ending: bittersweet, satisfying, but it lingers with you. Alright, That's it for today's review. If you've read Hard to Kill, I'd love to hear what you thought. Did Jane Smith work for you? Were the twists satisfying? Hit me up in the comments and let's talk about it. And hey, if you enjoyed this review, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring that bell so you never miss a video. We've got more reviews coming, more gaming content, and some cool surprises down the line. This is Billy Love signing off. Keep reading, keep gaming, and stay amazing, y'all. See you next time.